Well, gosh, I know we're behind and everything. I mean, don't make us feel bad. I mean, that we're finally putting out our top 10 list of last year.
I don't know why, but a lot of people tend to put their list out towards the end of 2019, which I guess is the proper way to do it.
It's the proper way, but I guess if you're like a critic or something that has the opportunity to see almost everything, it's good for you. But
yeah, I know. But here on the Cinema Discovery Project, we don't have those types of perks.
We don't have the perks
or things like that. We are just regular people who have to go and pay to see the movies, and then we gotta wait for them to get a big enough release to come our way. But as always, I'm one of your co-hosts, Andrew Cabral, and with me always is Stephen Billings.
It is me, Stephen Billings.
It is you, and we are, like Stephen said, going to be going through our favorite films of 2019. We are now in 2020, and before we know it, who knows what year it's going to be? 2025, 2030.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows if we'll still be doing this?
If we all live long enough. Yeah, I know how long we'll be doing this. But it is the start of a new decade, I guess, technically. So we closed out the last decade. We did our favorite films of the decade list a few months ago. And now we're doing our favorite of 2019. We're just doing our top 10. Right, Steven?
Yeah, we're going to do a top 10. And then we'll give some honorable mentions at the end. We don't want to give away our list too easily.
Right.
But me and Andrew have pretty similar tastes, so there could be some overlap. But if we, I would say, if there is, do you want to say you go first and you say something that's on my list? So should we go ahead and announce that that's our number whatever on our list, or should we?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to keep track of that, I never know how that works.
I would say like if I get to a movie that's on your list before you do, you just say, hey,
right,
that's my number something, and then we'll talk about it when we get to you on your list.
Right. Okay.
So we'll wait and talk about it in full when we get to where it is on your list, and vice versa.
Yeah, that works for me. But before we get into that, couple of things that kind of broke recently, or even one that is today. One, I think, is kind of big when it comes to the movie collector world, is that it looks like Warner Brothers, or Warner Media, whatever they're calling their big conglomeration corporate machine now, is teaming up with Universal to share a distribution of their physical media discs, their Blu-rays and DVDs, which is very fascinating to me. Now, this is only taking place in 2021. That's when it's going to start. Yeah. So right now, no big changes. But it's interesting that two big companies like that would kind of join forces in terms of distributing. Now, I didn't do too deeper research to see whether it's also the manufacture of the disc or the production of the discs.
Yeah.
All I know is that they're going to be sharing the distribution of the discs. And the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of people are curious about whether Warner Brothers would start putting out Blu-ray discs of Universal Studios' back catalog of movies. Now, for me personally, that would be amazing because I am not a very big fan of the way Universal treats their back catalog of movies when it comes to the quality of their Blu-ray releases. Some are amazing. Schindler's List is amazing. Jaws looks amazing. But then you get other movies like Deer Hunter, which doesn't look good. You get other movies like The Sting, which doesn't look very good. These really great movies. It's like they have the capabilities. I've always said that they have the capabilities, but they always don't put in their full effort. And for some reason, years ago, one of my biggest problems with them is they put out a whole Alfred Hitchcock box set, which I'm sure many people have in their collections, or have the individual releases or whatever, and they didn't do a good job with that release.
Yeah.
But I know they can do a great job because they put out a great-looking edition of Psycho. So it's like, I know you can do it.
Yeah.
Where's the effort? Where's the money that we put into it? So I don't know where this is going to stand from that standpoint, but it just goes to show that companies are trying to find ways in which to keep the physical media stream going.
Yeah.
And I guess, joining forces to share the costs is something that they need to do now.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've already seen the many cutbacks in general to I guess keep it going in your local stores and stuff like that, where I would say inventory on Blu-rays and stuff is probably gone down. Like, they don't make as many as they probably used to make.
Yeah, they probably don't produce as many units or whatever they call them.
And maybe it'll depend on the movie. Like, if the movie's a big hit in theaters, maybe they'll decide that they can probably sell more. It's probably a case-by-case thing. Yeah.
Oh, man. How many times do you go to your local stores and whatnot, and they just got, like, tons of copies
I mean, Disney still puts out tons of...
Disney's not stopping.
They put tons of physical copy out there, yeah.
Yeah, no, Disney doesn't even need to do that nowadays, especially with their streaming service now, but they're not stopping. They still put out so many. Yeah. Even, I mean, 20th Century Fox, which is now part of Disney, like when Star Wars comes out, their new edition, they always have tons of copies of that for years, just sitting on shelves in stores, and then they gotta like return them or whatever they do.
And which leads us to another thing that happened.
Go on.
So Disney finally dropped the Fox out of both of the things that they...
Oh, yeah, I wasn't even going to think of that, bringing that up. I'm glad you reminded me. So no more Fox.
Yeah, no.
Fox
so now 20th Century Fox is now just 20th Century Pictures, and we have no more Fox Searchlight. It's just Searchlight Studios or Searchlight Pictures, I think.
Let me look that... Yeah, because that's kind of a big thing. Because, Fox... was a big original studio. You know what I mean? Like it's a story studio that's been around for close to a century, and it's now gone. For the most part, the movies are still there, the history is still there, but all of that is like it kind of goes away because the name isn't there anymore. And it's kind of it's very unfortunate because I thought they would want to at least keep that name for branding reasons. You know what I mean? To really capitalize on that brand and to capitalize on that stuff. Yeah, it's 20th Century. Yeah, it's called 20th Century Studios, and Fox Searchlight is Searchlight Pictures, which I guess is fine. I mean. It's not a big thing, but it's kind of just a death knell of a further death knell of 20th Century Fox. Like they've even changed the Wikipedia page now, so now you know. Yeah, formerly it was 20th Century Fox from 1935 to 2020, and now it's 20th Century Studios. So it's been around for 84 years, if my math is correct, or from what I'm reading is correct, because I can't do math off the cuff here. But yeah, so that's kind of, I don't know, as long as, I mean, we've also heard like, not horror stories, but like them selling off projects, them shutting down projects, them firing people and all that kind of stuff because, if they can't have two departments doing the same thing or whatever, they have to consolidate, and consolidation leads to cutting things off. But yeah, that's kind of a big story. But another story... And Steven, I'm springing this on you, and because we didn't talk about it in our pre-show chat, but I guess it follows up our last episode that we did when we talked about Rise of Skywalker, and literally what was it, like a week after that, the original screenplay leaked for, or allegedly it's the original screenplay or the version of the original screenplay or whatever when Colin Trevorrow was going to be doing the movie. So this is pre-J.J. Abrams getting on board, which I'm pretty sure it looks like from what we've read and from what we understand, they completely changed the entire movie when J.J. Abrams took over, which kind of feeds into what I was saying during that episode where it looked like this production was rushed. It looks like this screenplay was rushed because it was a mess. And what we kind of come to find out, if this, screenplay is indeed legitimate, is that they were going to do what I wanted them to do, which was build off of the plot that was left to you with The Last Jedi, and kind of build off of that and connect all three of the movies, make Kylo Ren the main bad guy like he was supposed to be, instead of introducing, Deus Machina, Emperor Palpatine back from the dead from nowhere, which was never explained. they were going to do a lot more interesting things. But we don't want to get into that. But I just wanted to mention it because it does connect with our previous episode. And you can go and Google that and read all up on that and all that kind of stuff. But another thing that happened is that today one of the founding members of Monty Python passed away in Terry Jones, which I think is important to mention just because of his contribution to pop culture as well as the comedy world, the movie world, all kinds of different art forms in the world. And he and Graham Chapman are the two founding members that have passed away. I believe for years now he's been dealing with dementia, which is a really sad and tragic, slow evolving disease that catches up with you over time, as many diseases do. So he passed away today, which was really sad to hear because I heard it very, very early this morning. It was like kind of breaking news, and he was in his 70s, I believe. 77, yeah, he died at 77. So it's really sad. I think I'll be watching some Monty Python after I'm done recording this episode today, in honor of Terry Jones.
That's what you gotta do, man. So that's how he's remembered.
That's true. They're
a good way to honor
artists
him.
to remember through their art. But with that sad news, let's get to more positive things, and that will be our top 10 lists of 2019. Yeah, talk about the fanfare. Yeah, the fanfare we're never going to hear ever again with 20th Century Fox. With the
never going to hear that again, guys. You just have to keep watching your Die Hard Blu-rays, and
they'll keep producing them, so there'll still be plenty of copies of those floating around. Yeah. But, Steven, do you want to go first, or you want to flip a coin? How do you want to do this?
I don't need to flip a coin.
Okay.
Maybe we do. I don't know. I'm going to flip a bottle cap. Top side or bottom side?
Bottom side.
Okay, you won. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, let me go first. I don't want to kick off. I don't want to kick off in the second half. Right. I want to score first. So my number 10 is Marriage Story.
Okay, it's on my list.
It's on your list. Okay, so you want to wait on that?
Wait till it gets around to me, to where it's at on my list.
So what's your number 10 then?
My number 10 is... This was tough, man, because it kind of it came off my list, my top 10, and then it came back in. I was having a hard time deciding if this should be in there. And then I decided to put it in because I think I respect this movie more than I, completely loved it. But that's how it is sometimes. I think sometimes you can be impressed by a movie and not completely maybe understand it or even love it completely yet until you watch it again. And so I'm hoping with another watch I'll love it more. But the movie is Little Women.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's not in my top 10.
Yeah, it's Greta Gerwig, her second film after doing Lady Bird, which was amazing.
Very big critical hit.
Yes, and we got Saoirse Ronan back starring in this film, and then you got Emma Watson, Florence Pugh, great cast, and Laura Dern's in there, Timothy Chalamet.
He's very hot.
Very hot. Very, very hot. As they say in Zoolander. Oh, look, Hansel, he's hot right now. So hot. I just was very, very impressed by the filmmaking ability mostly in this movie. I think that the filmmaking is so mature for somebody it's their second film. Now, of course, Greta Gerwig's been around the industry, and her husband is a filmmaker, and it's so they she knows the stuff. But I mean, I'm not really. I've never seen any of the other versions of this movie of the book Little Women. I've never seen any of there. It's been done 2 or 3 other times.
Many times. They did a version back in the 30s with Katharine Hepburn. Okay. So they've done a lot of versions.
At least 2 or 3 adaptations before this one. Yes. And from what I understand, she was very faithful, yet she updated it in a very great way, apparently, from what I've heard. And I found myself intrigued the whole time. The way that the storytelling is, it kind of jumps around a little bit, which at first it took me by surprise, but then once I caught on, it was, I thought it was very interesting, and just great performances and great messages, and it's just a delightful movie. I think it's one of the...
Yeah, it's extremely well made, well acted. What's interesting about the film is that it's set during the Civil War, so we're talking like 1860s, but it feels so modern with its themes.
Yeah.
Because its themes are very universal. They're also very female. It's a female-centric
female-centric movie. It's
all-
about
all-
things
all
that
our-
females struggle with even today.
Even today, which makes it feel so modern. You know, dealing with, they're all sisters, so it's dealing with family elements. It's dealing with personal elements. It's dealing with romantic elements. It's dealing with, individual, individual like life goals and like things like that. And dealing with sadness as well as good things. But yeah, it does move back and forth through time. There's a, it's kind of present and then past, and then you see how those two line up. I know some people were having difficulty keeping up with what was past versus what was present in the film, and I didn't really find that to be too.
It's a movie that it requires a certain amount of attention.
It really, you have to pay attention to it. Also, because I think the character demeanors between the present and the past in the film were different.
I think part of I was gonna say
the sisters were younger, so they were very, they felt their actions were younger, more naive, more like learning life and whatnot. While the older versions of the sisters felt different. They felt more mature.
I was gonna say I would say
like
I think the thing that makes it tough to sometimes understand. To identify what time the movie takes place in, whether it's the past or present, or is that the fact that they don't age very much in this physically age, so there's nothing to really really noticeably be like, oh, they look older, or that like it's like you have to.
That's why I mentioned it's like their demeanor feels.
It's demeanor, and it's also
it's tough to pick.
It's
up
also
on.
you got to pick up on pick up on demeanor, and you have to pick up on, I guess you could say, their status in life.
Also, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was hearing someone mention this on Twitter. I can't remember who it was. Is that the aesthetic looked different between the past and the present in the film. I think the past was a little softer when it came to its cinematography versus the present in the film. So, but that's something I guess more film people would pick up on. I do want to mention that Laura Dern is in the film, and she is amazing in this movie. And she was nominated for Marriage Story. And I thought she could have been nominated for this film, and it would have made just as much sense as Marriage Story, even more for me. I thought she was.
I think Marriage Story was the showier performance.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Marriage Story is a more showy film than I think this is. Yeah, but this is based on a book from the 19th century, written by Louise May Alcott. Yeah. I remember this being a lot of required reading back when I was in school. I think it's probably part of summer reading things, or even part of curriculum in schools. Yeah. So that's why it's such a popular story that's been adapted so many times. I unfortunately have never read it.
Yeah, I've never read it.
So it never came up during my schooling days.
Well, maybe I get that Audible. Get that on Audible.
Yeah,
listen to it.
I
don't have time to read actual books.
Who does? Well, I mean, I do. But let's move on to my number 9, and my number 9 is Us, Jordan Peele's newest film.
It's just off my list. Yeah.
Okay, so we can talk about it. So Us is Jordan Peele's newest film. It's his follow-up to Get Out. They're not. It's not a sequel or anything like that. It's a film that's dealing with racial and cultural things. It's more of a straight horror movie than Get Out was. Yeah. But it's also a film that really kind of blew me away in many of its aspects, and specifically I thought its filmmaking aspects were amazing.
Oh yeah.
The music in the film, the atmosphere in the film, feels very specific, or very purposely done to present the film in a certain way to make the atmosphere feel almost surreal.
Yeah.
Is this reality? This can't be reality, because this is too wild, it's too crazy, it's too out there. but I really loved the elements within the film. I also thought Lupita Nyong'o was amazing in this movie. She's playing literally two different roles that are the complete opposites of one another. This film is dealing with doppelgangers. It's dealing with the darker versions of ourselves and commenting on that, and also making, I think, one of the biggest comments is that we are not so far removed from the darkest versions of ourselves than we think we are.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting philosophical thing to think of, because we all like to think that we are, moral, like, not white knights, but like morally positive people, but
Sure.
where when like we're not that far away from not being that.
It's like that saying, we're one bad day away from going crazy or going,
Yeah.
because in the movie, she has one thing that happens to her very young in her life that kind of changes her life.
Yeah, very traumatic. Dealing with past trauma and stuff like that. It's also really great cast. Not only Lupita Nyong'o, but Winston Duke is in the film. Winston Duke is probably most famously for being in Black Panther. He's really fantastic. He's playing. Some people compared him to like a nerdy Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
That's almost
like
that.
that.
I can almost see that. Yeah.
And it's like, because he's kind of bumbling and saying like corny lines and stuff, but he's a big physical, a handsome man, and it's kind of weird the way he acts. Elizabeth Moss is in the film as well, from Mad Men
I love
fame
her.
and now The Handmaid's Tale. Her character, she pops in, but she's got some just really quick-witted lines, like really like deep-cutting lines when they're like at the beach and stuff like that, and then of course later on in the film. But yeah, it's a really fantastic film in my opinion. I highly recommend it for people. It's not again, Jordan Peele, he's trying to make films that feel like they feel like Twilight Zone episodes in theatrical form, and it's that level of weird and uncomfortableness that he's inducing. So it's not fully like straight horror like you're used to seeing with like jump scares and things like that, but it's really, really good and really, really well done. He's become, his breakout right now is really fascinating to me because he's making very interesting, thought-provoking films.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. It was very close. It was very close to being on my list. Definitely one that I think stuck out from last year. Just thinking about it visually, it very much stuck out from last year.
And it came out earlier in the year, which I think a lot of people end up forgetting the earlier films that are really good.
Well, I mean, it's the same around the same release date as his first film, Get Out.
It's Get Out, yeah. And I think that film had more staying power than this when it came to end of the year critical like lists or acclaim or stuff like that. But it was one of the first films of the year where I'm like, okay, now we're getting into some good stuff now.
Awesome. Well, going into my number 9, it's funny. We the first 3 movies we're going to talk about are from directors that are doing their second movies. Because my number 9 is Uncut Gems.
Okay, it's not on my top 10.
Okay. So
I was like, oh, it's here somewhere. It's not on my top 10.
It's like you probably had it on your list at one point and then it got moved away.
It's close though.
Yeah.
It's close.
Okay. All right. So Uncut Gems, directed by the Safdie brothers, who did Good Time, which I think we both had that very high on our lists when it came out a few years ago.
I think it was 2017.
Yeah. It was definitely like I think top 5 at least on my list, and so going into this, I was very excited because the experience I had with Good Time was this adrenaline pumping, just kind of toxic film. Robert Pattinson giving a fantastic performance, and then of course I hear about Uncut Gems, and we hear how great Adam Sandler is, and I love when comedic actors take on darker, more dramatic roles. So I was excited for them things, and I was not disappointed with it. I mean, honestly, when I was done with Uncut Gems, I wasn't sure how I felt yet, but I was overwhelmed because the movie is just a constant kind of like anxiety attack waiting to happen. Like the whole movie, Adam Sandler, who is this guy that is addicted to gambling, basically. He doesn't know how to stop putting his life on the line. Basically, everything he does, he puts himself in jeopardy. And I feel like there's a theme going through Safdie Brothers' work about how there's people in this world that are addicted to not being, not being a part of normal society things. Like they are like people that push against the norms of society and are okay with getting in trouble or being, like putting themselves on the line like that. And it's Adam Sandler in this movie, I think, gets to play all the best parts of what he can do as an actor, and it be put into this kind of perverse, troubling way. Like it's really kind of not a movie about anything necessarily, but it's just kind of an experiential kind of movie of this guy that just can't stop fucking up.
No,
I mean,
the thing about this movie is he just keeps digging himself.
It's like every time you think he's about to correct something, he does it again. He does something bad again. You're like,
well, he has like a compulsion not only to gamble but to like self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Like he just constantly is screwing up his life, and the whole film is an anxiety-inducing film. And I was trying to explain it to a friend of mine the other night, and he wasn't believing me. And he's like, "Oh, how is it like? I told him you're gonna have an anxiety attack while watching this movie, and it's just because the atmosphere that the Safdie brothers create is so." I like nervous. It's just nerve wracking.
Well, the Safdie brothers.
What's going to happen next? What are we doing here? And their world feels so surreal, yet so lived in at the same time. It's a weird.
Well,
feeling.
Part of it is a combination of the musical score that they decide to use. Their scores are very synthy, very surreal sounding, and then they also have this almost kind of 70s. Aesthetic with their filmmaking, a lot of close-ups, a lot of tight shots, grainy images.
But they use lighting from the 80s.
Yeah.
Which is like they've got the grit from the 70s and the lighting from the 80s as well as the music, and it's just a combination. But it's set in modern day.
Yeah.
Well, this movie's set, I think, in like 2012.
Well, because Kevin Garnett, who's a real-life basketball player, plays himself in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and he plays himself. I mean, you know what? He's actually not bad.
Yeah, he's fine, yeah.
He's actually good, like surprisingly good for the role he's given. He's basically just playing like a heightened fictionalized version of himself, so it's not that big of a strain on him to be able to pull that off. But the film is just really, really good. Also, Julia Fox, who I think this is her first film, plays like Adam Sandler's girlfriend, also like employee in the film. She's amazing in the film as well. It's like a breakout role for her. Or doesn't have any other IMDb credits, I don't think.
Feature
film wise.
Yeah. And also, what's her name? That John Travolta immortalized.
Idina Menzel.
The wickedly talented
Adele Dazeem.
She's in the movie. She plays his soon-to-be ex-wife.
Yes, Howie is a character. Talk about amorals that I was talking about before. He's not morally bankrupt, but he skews morally down. I mean, he's kind of a despicable con man of a person, and but he's so self-aware of how messed up of a person he is, or at least he comes to that realization. And I love the film as well, but I'll say this, it's in my top 20. It's in my top 20 of the year.
Yeah, the other actor in it I want to bring up is Lakeith Stanfield. He's one of my favorite actors right now. I anytime he's in a movie, I'm like, yes, that guy. I mean, like, he's got a movie, like a romantic movie coming out soon that I really want to check out. I think it's called, like, Photograph.
I think
and of course he's been in Get Out, and he was in Sorry to Bother You last year.
Yes.
Love that movie. Like, he's very underrated. I want to see him do more stuff. But, all right, on to your number 8.
Let me get back to my list. My number 8 is... Let's see. My number 8 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay, not on my list.
Really?
Nope.
Oh, I thought it was going to be on your list. Okay, I guess let's. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but let's do it anyway. I don't know what we're doing here. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is Quentin Tarantino's newest film. It stars Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie's in the film. It's a film that's set in 1969, set in Hollywood, and it's basically Quentin Tarantino's fantasy version of that era of Hollywood, California, and he basically puts in everything that he loves about that era in this film. Yeah. You know, he has the movie making aspect in it. He's got the television aspect in it. He's got Leonardo DiCaprio's playing a actor who's basically past his prime and is doing like a bit part in a TV pilot now. And Brad Pitt is his stuntman / friend / driver in Cliff Booth. And Leonardo DiCaprio's character is named Rick Dalton. And apparently he was the lead on like a hit Western television series called Bounty Law years earlier, and now he's just a struggling actor trying to find work.
Yeah.
And basically the whole, I mean, it's not a big spoiler, but in like the first like scene of the movie, Al Pacino basically tells him to go to Italy and be in spaghetti westerns because that like he'll be big there. Yeah. But he thinks it's a drawback, or he thinks it's he'll be giving up his career to do that. Margot Robbie plays the late Sharon Tate in the film, which this is what garnered the film so much controversy, is that Quentin Tarantino was going to have Sharon Tate in the film while she was married to Roman Polanski, and when she got murdered, and it was going to take place at the same time. It also came out during like the anniversary summer.
Yeah.
Like, because this was 2019, so it took place in 1969. I can't do that math, but it was an anniversary. Ago. What was it, 50? Yeah, 50-year anniversary of her death, and people were like, oh, how's he going to do it? How's he going to do it? I don't want to spoil how he does it, but I'll just say this. People have been complaining about her role in the film or her lack of role in the film. And to me, I thought it was actually more of a tributary, like a tributary, like remembrance and love for Sharon Tate and love for the life that she had and the life that she didn't get to have. Yeah. And there are just scenes of this film where you just see her be herself. She's dancing to music, riding in a car, shopping, or she's at the movie watching herself on screen and being happy. And to me, cinema is way more than dialogue. Cinema is a visual medium, and there's so much to be said within the visual medium. Sometimes more than dialogue can even express. Sometimes dialogue is not even necessary because what you're showing is more powerful than what you can say. And I thought she was really good in the film, and it was interesting how the movie itself is kind of I call it a hangout movie. It's a movie that doesn't really have a really strong central plot. We're just moving from scene to scene. We're basically seeing, a day in the life of Rick Dalton, Cliff Booth, and Sharon Tate, and we're just seeing their lives unfold out. And it's more about the atmosphere of the time, the culture at the time, and what was going on, and what is kind of a fictionalized version of what Tarantino believed was going on. I mean, he was alive at the time, but I mean, like, just it's his fantasy world. If you ever hear, once upon a time in wherever place, those are always the start of most fantasies, or most adventure stories and whatnot. So this film is kind of in that vein. I've watched it now for a second time. Since it's come out in theaters, and I still really, really like it a lot. The filmmaking from Tarantino, I think, is, top notch. The editing, the music selection, the acting, the cinematography, I think is all, near perfection for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen it the one time, and I remember really liking it. I just think that when it came to, the greater themes, maybe, or it did not stick with me, because I think you can agree that maybe this is probably his most self-indulgent movie.
Yeah, it's his most. I mean, all of his movies are self-indulgent.
Yeah.
They're all self-indulgent because he's pouring what he loves into them. You know what I mean?
Well, he has a clear conviction about film and the films that he likes, and he likes to basically do very interesting homages to everything he likes, and in this movie he's clearly trying to tell the audience, hey, don't forget about the past, don't get so caught up in the future that you forget about these people that laid the groundwork for all the things that you love now.
His knowledge of movie trivia or just movie history is pretty high.
Yeah.
Like if you ever see him, he'll just name drop random references to things in interviews or Q&As that you've never heard of before.
Yeah.
And you have to go and do a whole Google search on it.
And that's the good thing about Tarantino, man. He's a true film fan. I think sometimes I wish he would maybe, try to have more original thoughts.
Oh yeah, I mean, also a lot of people don't like him because he is kind of an egomaniac. You can
I don't
tell.
dislike him, but I think like his personality. I love
Right.
I love the person he is. Though maybe he has an ego. A lot of us have egos, but I mean, I just think that when it comes to his art, though I do enjoy his movies usually, I just wish he wasn't so obvious with his influences sometimes.
Fair enough.
But
all right, your number 8.
All right, my number 8. This one is one I was very excited about because I love the filmmaker. He's very unique, and this just looked like this would be a hilarious satirical movie. Jojo Rabbit, by the name that I can never say right until I see it. Taika Waititi.
Right. Oh, he finally did it.
Finally
got it.
Yeah.
Progress.
I know. The thing is, I always like to add T to his last name. And
yeah, you had too many T's.
Yeah. I'm like Taika Tatiti, and that's not right. It's Taika Waititi. And so this is a movie set during, obviously World War II, and it's set around a child who, has been, brainwashed into becoming a Nazi eventually. He's basically a Nazi, Nazi scouts. And his mother is Scarlett Johansson, who puts on a face of being, all about the Nazi beliefs, but is actually against them. So basically, but the movie's about how he finds a young Jew girl who is being held by the mother in their house, and how he kind of interacts with her and starts to learn the truth about things and not just what he's being taught. And I think it's a very relevant movie, and hilarious. I mean, you got Taika playing Hitler, imaginary best friend Hitler, which is one of the funniest things that you wouldn't think would work when you say it out loud, but it really works. And sure, it's controversial, and kids, you got little kids saying Heil Hitler a bunch of times. It works. It's hilarious. It's heartwarming, and it's definitely worth a watch if you're not easily offended.
Yeah, it's a movie that's gotten, for some reason, it's getting a lot of criticism on Twitter. I know Twitter is not the best place for decent criticism or stuff like that, but just people not interested in seeing it, people being offended by it without seeing it, by just seeing the premise or seeing the trailer or seeing a clip or out of context, of course. But the movie is a satire, and it's making fun of the ridiculous and just despicable, philosophies of people who are Nazis. The whole Nazi philosophy and all that stuff, and how just dumb it is, and how ridiculous and unreasonable it is. And it's fascinating the way the film approaches it from a comedic standpoint, because it feels it's like, wow, I can't believe people actually believe the stuff that the Nazis were saying, and it's so dumb. All the propaganda about the Jewish people and all the ridiculous lies they made up to make them seem like they were less human, and all that kind of stuff. That's all stuff that's actually real. Granted, some of it's probably heightened for comedic purposes and whatnot. But I'll say this: the young actors in the film are really, really good, and sometimes young actors can make or break a film. Scarlett Johansson is an anchor in the film. Sam Rockwell is in the film as well.
I was going to say Sam Rockwell's character to me was very interesting. Because he's playing this Nazi who's obviously kind of done with it. He's just
he knows the war is over.
He's this is over. Why are we still doing this shit?
Because it takes place during the late stages of World War II, when basically the Germans were retreating, and the war was coming to an end. And basically, it was a race from, the Allies in Western Europe versus Russia and Eastern Europe to see who would get to Berlin first. It was basically like you just the closing in. But like I can only imagine what the propaganda machine must have been in Germany to tell the German people, oh yeah, we're still winning the war and stuff like that, because that's what totalitarianism and Nazism and all that stuff. They just make up lies and bullshit to convince people that they're right and that what they're doing is worth it, when in fact it's just despicable lies and garbage.
Yep.
And the film, I'll say this, the film is funny for the most part, but it gets dark. It gets really dark, very serious very quickly, and I kind of it's very similar to the tonal shift in Life is Beautiful.
Yeah.
Benini?
Roberto
Benini.
Yeah.
Roberto Benini film from the late 90s, which is amazing, and just that stark tonal shift, I think, caught a lot of people off guard, but it's really powerful. It's a really powerful film, and it's set in our current political times at an important time frame where Nazis are literally still around. They've made a comeback.
Yeah.
There's still people wearing swastikas, marching in the streets, and and exposing the garbage philosophy of Nazism.
Yeah.
So it's still appropriate to have these types of movies exposing that garbage. And yeah, it's Taika Waititi, and I love when Taika Waititi does a film like this versus like the big budget stuff that he's.
Well, I'm glad that so far it seems like he's not doing them types of movies.
Right.
He's finding time to go and do something more personal.
Yeah, he's doing like one for them, one for me stuff,
yeah.
which we see a lot. So we down to my number 7
Yes,
now?
you're number 7.
My number 7 is The Irishman.
Not on my list.
Okay. The Irishman is... it's a film that I'm pretty sure many of you know. It's Martin Scorsese's newest film. It's rather a magnum opus film from him when it comes to his gangster filmography.
Yeah.
Because you've got all his old friends back in it. Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Harvey Keitel is in the film a little bit. Al Pacino is in the film for quite a bit. And it's a film that's based on the life of the guy who was the subject of the book called what was it? You paint
I heard you paint houses.
Yeah. And it's a guy by the name of Frank Sheeran, and he was basically kind of I guess you could say hitman, or a tough guy. He worked for gangsters back in, I want to say, the 60s and whatnot, 50s, 60s, that era. And he was basically the guy you called if you wanted to rough somebody up or kill somebody or whatever. He was basically a tough guy that you see in a lot of old gangster films. Lee Marvin started out his career playing a heavy. That's what they call it, a heavy. And it's a long film. It's 3 hours and 29 minutes long. It was produced by Netflix. It uses de-aging technology, sometimes amazingly well, sometimes not so amazingly well. But what is interesting about the film is it's so large and fascinating, and all of the themes that it's expounding on. There's a lot of, I think, a misconception of not only gangster films, but I think Martin Scorsese's gangster films, specifically where it's glorifying that life. Yeah, and for me, none of his films I think I've ever glorified it, because in the end, it doesn't end well for these people. You know what I mean? Even in these people's real lives, their lives all ended pretty terribly.
Yeah.
And this film kind of shows how the negative aspects of living in that life. For example, Robert De Niro's character has a really strained and broken relationship with his daughter in the film, who is at one point portrayed by Anna Paquin, and they literally don't talk towards the end of this movie. Like, she won't be in his life at all. And what it also shows is that over time, all these big, bad, tough guys all end up dying off the same as anybody else. You know what I mean? We all end up dying in the end. regardless of what type of lives we lead. And that, I think that to be a really fascinating, interesting aspect. This is a film that also got Joe Pesci out of retirement because we haven't seen him in years. He almost didn't come back for this. I remember reading reports where he just didn't want to do it. I don't know how they convinced him, and if they just gave him more money or whatever. But he, I thought, was a standout in the film. To come out of essentially retirement and to pull off the role that he pulled off was really good. Al Pacino is probably his best performance we've seen from him in years. He plays Jimmy Hoffa. And for those of you who don't know who Jimmy Hoffa was somebody who, quote unquote, disappeared at some point in the early to mid 1970s.
I would say his legacy is more about the fact that he disappeared than it is he actually did.
He was like the leader of the Teamsters Union, I believe, truck drivers unions, and he got himself in with the mob. And man, if you cross those guys, they will get rid of you, and you will never be found again, because to this day, they've never found Jimmy Hoffa's body, and they probably never will. And this film makes certain conjectures about how all of that went down, and what may or may not have happened, and it's really, really fascinating from that regard. But this is a classic Martin Scorsese. The filmmaking is really fantastic, and it's probably his longest and most ambitious film that he's done so far within his filmography, in specifically his gangster films. I don't think it, but in the main criticism I have with it, and I think I would say perhaps even Scorsese fans have with it, is that it's not something that's essentially out of his wheelhouse. This is him doing what he does best at one of its best, portrayals of that. It's him not going out of that box. And I've told this to Steven a while ago, and I think we may have discussed it. I think his film he did before this, Silence, is more ambitious than this.
Definitely.
And more interesting and more challenging than this film. But I really like this film a lot. This film has a lot of great moments in it, a lot of, really fantastic filmmaking elements. But I think a lot of the budget in this film went to the de-aging, and it's ambitious to do that de-aging where you have these older actors and you want to portray them in younger form. But like I said, some of it works and some of it doesn't. The movement, I think Steven has a big problem with it.
Well, yeah. I think that when we've talked about it before, it's you can de-age somebody, but if you're playing them younger, they have to make the motions as younger people, and they can't. They're trying to act like late 20, early 30s guys, but they're 70 years old, so they don't move like 20-something-year-olds. So it's
not only that, but it looked like they de-aged the faces, but didn't de-age the bodies.
Yeah,
so some of those wide shots, like they look young, but their body looks old.
Yeah,
like De Niro's in his 70s, so he looks like he has a 70-year-old man's body, but with like a 30-year-old man's face. Yeah, and so sometimes those things don't.
Yeah, and my main issues with the movie, I mean, I do think that the movie. And, I'm a person, I like long movies, but I think this movie maybe is a little bit kind of over the top long for the subject matter. I also think
I don't disagree.
Yeah, I think also I feel like with Scorsese, I do think this is kind of a less inspired movie of his, because I almost feel like he wanted a chance to work with all these actors in one movie together, and that was more the reason to make this movie than it was he really had something to say.
All right. Well, like I said, it's not something we haven't seen from him before.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we've talked about it before. I mean, I was so much more engaged with movies like The Departed, and stuff like that are part of the same things he'd already done before, but they were just more engaging because I felt like he was showing me something new. And with this, I think it is definitely ambitious, but I don't know if the ambition was for the right reasons. Okay. I don't feel like he had anything new to say to warrant a movie of this length.
Got it.
I mean, maybe I'll feel differently with another viewing or so, but at this point right now, I liked the movie. I didn't love the movie. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, moving to my number 7. This one is one I'm not even sure if you've seen it. I don't know that you saw this one, because I don't think I've ever heard. I don't think we ever talked about it. And it's Let me pull it up here. I meant to pull it up a second ago.
The anticipation is
yeah, I
killing
know, right? The director, I think, is a first-time director. It's a female director. And
Are you talking about The Farewell?
no. It's been described as a updated version of kind of Bonnie and Clyde, and that is Queen and Slim.
Oh no, I did not see Queen.
Yes,
and Slim.
Queen and Slim. It
With Daniel Kaluuya.
Daniel
right?
Kaluuya, and I think it's her first movie. Also, the actress.
Oh, it's
Jodie Turner Smith. Yeah,
Well, no.
I think it's maybe her first movie. I mean, she might have done some other smaller parts, maybe, but this is her like first leading movie.
Oh, I thought you meant the director.
Well, the director.
Because I know the film was written by Lena Waithe, who was famously in the Aziz Ansari Netflix show.
Okay.
Which is Master of None.
Yes.
And she was also in Ready Player One.
Okay. But Queen and Slim, I was really engrossed with this movie. It very much is kind of the story of a kind of a Bonnie and Clyde story, just not necessarily about people that kind of get caught up in, committing crimes. Obviously, we've had a lot of stories about how, African American community, gets, targeted by law enforcement, which is kind of what happens in this movie. We had a lot of movies like that last year with, Blind Spotting and shoot, what was the one with the girl in it?
Oh my God, The Hate You
The
Give?
Hate You Give. That's it. And there was even
I don't know where I pulled that.
Yeah,
out
you
of.
pulled that, man. Good one. So this one kind of has that same thing. I would say out of all the them movies, this movie depicts this particular situation maybe in the most, I would say, emotional way. Like it happened the way that it's shot and the way it goes down. I was actually feeling nervous during the scene. It brings you in very well. The filmmaking very, very good. The cinematography very good. You very much get a rawness with this movie when they're kind of running away from the police and they're going across the country, parts of the country that I've visited and are closer to where I live. It feels very real, and I feel like I could really relate to the movie in the sense of place that the movie was in. And I just think that the chemistry here is the biggest thing, and it's very genuine. The movie's very genuine. These two people that are in a situation where they don't feel like they have any other choice but to run because of the world that they live in, and I think it's a very impactful movie. It's one I can't wait to watch again. And sure, the kind of movie goes down in no surprising way, but you just want to stay with the characters because you relate with them and you feel their plight so much. Like I really enjoyed the movie. I was more into the movie than I thought it would be.
Okay, I have to check it out. I have not seen it.
Yeah, it's probably got a Blu-ray, I would assume, coming out soon.
Because I think it came out like last month.
It came out in
recently.
like October, I think. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The movie?
Yeah. Yeah, that movie came out
off.
like October-ish. Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah, you're way behind, buddy.
Way off. Samsonite, I was way off. Dumb and Dumber reference. So I'll be on to my number 6. I'm losing
Yes,
track
we're
here.
on to number 6.
Yeah, my number 6 is 1917.
Okay,
Is it on your
I
list?
do have that on my list.
Oh,
So
okay
yeah.
then.
Just wait a minute.
Do you?
I do have it on my list.
Okay.
Just you have to wait a second.
Okay.
All right. So now we can talk about one that you brought up earlier. Marriage Story is my number 6.
Okay. So I guess I'll go into it. Marriage Story. Coincidentally, I said Marriage Story, and then you talked about Little Women very soon after. It is that Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach are a married couple.
Yes.
Yeah, they're married. But this movie is directed by Noah Baumbach, and it is it's also a Netflix produced film, and it stars Scarlett Johansson once again. She had a pretty good year, that Scarlett Johansson.
Yes, she did.
And she's a double Oscar nominee now. And the film also stars Adam Driver, who also got nominated for an Oscar for this film, and he got nominated last year as well. He's
having a year too.
Guy. He's having a year as well. And they are a married couple who are going through a divorce, and things are getting messy. And not messy in a kind of like a custody battle messy like you see with like a Kramer versus Kramer or something, or courtroom drama or something like that. It's an emotional messiness.
Well, it's about how there's two people that they've realized that they don't really coincide very well together, and they're trying to, it's about having good intentions and how quickly good intentions can turn into like, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not regret. Having.
I don't know, complications?
No, I'm just saying they resent. They have resentments for each other. As the movie goes on, they realize that they resent each other for things that they kind of feel like that the other person has turned them into. Like they feel like
there's a lot, resentment towards each other for just their lives together, which is really sad. It's a sad movie.
It's definitely a sad movie. I think it's maybe one of the best screenplays of the year. If not the best.
When I watch, I'm like, this screenplay is amazing. This is one of the best screenplays I've seen. It's
so tight, though. It's I think it's 2 hours and 15 minutes long.
Yeah, IMDb says 2 hours and 17, but you got to cut out the credits and whatnot.
Yeah,
but it's a tight movie, and it feels very play-like.
I was gonna say it reminds me of like a Sorkin type of like movie where you get a lot of dialogue. But the dialogue you're so invested because the acting's so good. Like they're so
and right now, I mean, they've parodied this scene so many times, which is both hilarious and tragic because it's such a powerful scene when they just have huge tirade against one another, and they're just where everything is pretty much laid bare, and it's basically it's the Oscar moment of the movie. This is probably the scene that got them both nominated, even though they're great throughout the entire film.
It reminds me of the scene at the end of Before Midnight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, I'm going to be talking about the Before trilogy in a movie upcoming, so I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot to do that.
I can plug that.
Sometimes Steve and I have the same brain.
Yeah, man.
And it's but this movie, Marriage Story, tight screenplay, good filmmaking. It's on Netflix now, so for those of you who have Netflix, I would recommend watching it. But if you've gone through a difficult relationship, whether it be a divorce, a breakup, or something like that, this film can hit home, very, very close to home.
Oh, it can. I mean,
so many people were saying
I was going to say, like, I watched this with my fiance, and she, her parents have had troubles in the past, and she said that it very much reminded her of, times where they've had arguments. It hit a nerve. Like, it was tough for her to,
Well, I have two friends that are getting married this year. Steven is one of them. And I've got another friend who's also getting married. And I tried to tell, like, when the movie came out, I had just saw it. So this was, like, early December, like, right before Christmas. And I was like, oh, you got to watch Marriage Story, You got to, and, I think, Steven, you've reached that phase of your relationship where a lot of the things you watch are with your significant other.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what. To be honest with you, Steven, that's one of the reasons why I'm glad I still stay.
Well,
single,
she's
because I want to watch everything anytime I want, not have to wait for.
Well, you know what? She is pretty good about letting me if I want to go have my own time, she'll let me. So I can if I want.
Yeah, but that's one of the things I try to avoid because I want to be a free.
You want to be free as a bird.
Free bird.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I want to be free bird.
That's good. That's good, Leonard Skinner. Okay.
Yeah, it's good Leonard Skinner reference. But as I was saying, like I was trying to tell him, like this movie's amazing. And he's like, oh, well, what's it about? I was like, oh, it's the de-evolution of a marriage. And he's like, oh yeah, I don't want to see that. I'm about to get married. And I'm like. Yeah, it's a movie.
Good times.
I don't want to ever reach that point where I avoid watching a movie for something like that. But it's like, but I understand
people
why.
People deal with their
Yeah,
depression or their bad feelings in different ways. To me,
that's very true. But I understand that position because I know many people have probably had it when they heard about this movie or even while watching this movie.
Yeah.
Maybe people maybe have turned it off because it's hit too close to home, or I don't want to deal. I don't want this is too real.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I was gonna say, like I was saying, people deal with it differently. To me, I find that when I pop in, I purposely would rather pop in a movie that maybe hits on something that I'm feeling and it makes me feel better. Or it's a positive effect for me to watch a sad movie if it relates to something that I'm dealing with, because then it makes me feel like I'm not alone. That somebody else has had that feeling because that comes from the filmmaker or something that they've maybe seen in somebody else, or like that. To me, I think watching a sad movie or a depressing movie can be a good thing. But everybody deals with it differently. So.
And also, I think it's important to bring up. I think this film is inspired by Noah Baumbach's real life relationship and marriage to Jennifer Jason Leigh, and I think like part of the film is inspired from that, like their relationship. So it probably feels, maybe that's why it feels so real, because it's based off of a real thing. Yeah. So that was your number
6.
6, and my 6 was 1917. So my number 5 now is probably going to be on your list too, and that is Rocket Man.
Yes, and you got to wait a little bit.
Okay. All right. So you're 5.
My number 5 is The Lighthouse, and we got it. I'm assuming.
Oh, you gotta wait. You're gonna have to.
You have to wait a minute. Okay.
So my number 4 now.
Yes.
And I don't think you're gonna have this on your list, and this is
okay.
And this is High Life.
No, it's not on my list. No.
Yeah, this was my number 1 for the longest time, up until like the last month, up until like the last month and a half or so. High Life is a film that I saw much earlier in the year, and it's a film that didn't get a wide release. It's available, I think, now on Amazon Prime. There's a Blu-ray DVD. This is another film that stars Robert Pattinson. Coincidentally, you mentioned The Lighthouse, which also stars Robert Pattinson. And this is a film by Claire Denis. And Claire Denis is kind of one of these art house independent filmmakers. She's made, her films are like, stuff you would watch on, Criterion and stuff like that. And I think, and I've only seen one of her films before this, but I've been wanting to watch much more of her filmography, and I've seen White Material. Yeah. And that was a movie that came out in 2008, and it starred, I want to say, Isabelle Huppert. Yeah, it starred Isabelle Huppert and Christopher Lambert from Mortal Kombat fame. And so, but this film is High Life, and it's a departure from what we typically see from Claire Denis, or at least what I've seen just by looking at her filmography and looking at her films in her, in her directorial oeuvre. And it stars Robert Pattinson, Juliette Binoche, Andre Benjamin, Mia Goth. I don't know how to pronounce her name. But, man, this is one of those movies that's right up my alley. It's an sci-fi,
sexual,
art
weird.
House, sci-fi, art house, surreal, sexual film. And by sexual film, I mean there is literally
there's a sex room.
There's a sex box in space. And, man, it's like... what's interesting is, like, even the premise they give you on IMDb has nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of a movie. It's like a David Lynch movie. It's hard to describe.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, let me see if I can find... It's like, okay, here we go. Yeah, okay, let me read this synopsis, because the one they have on IMDb is not even remotely close to the premise of this movie. Takes place beyond the solar system in a future that seems like the present, about a group of people who accept a mission in space to become the subjects of a human reproduction experiment. And it goes down that really weird, surreal, sexual corridor that gets weird, that gets, more crazy as time goes on. Like, the deeper they go into space, the deeper the craziness goes. And, man, I couldn't even describe to you the mindset you have to watch this movie. It's one of those, like, movie that I think is for a specific audience. It's not for mainstream audiences. It's a slower, like I said, art house film. The movie is only an hour and 53 minutes, but you feel it because it's slow, longer. Progressive, and it feels longer. But Robert Pattinson, I think, is amazing in this film. Juliette Binoche is one of my favorite actresses that not a lot of people know about. She's been acting for a long time, and I think she's an amazing actress. And yeah, I loved this film for the longest time. Like I said, it was my number one, and that's just me because I like these types of movies. Not for everyone.
Yeah, you're definitely. So, I know you with your love of David Lynch. I know you're a big surrealist.
Yeah, big art house surrealist. Like these movies don't make any sense type thing. It's because I'm always because there's a lot of formulaic stuff in movies. Especially as time has gone on, and now, with bigger studios taking a bigger chunk of the movie production world, you don't get to see a lot of movies that push the boundaries or to be ambitious or to really do things in a crazy, wild way that may work or may not work. You just see like things that are always safe for the most part, and I just love seeing films that aren't anything but safe. It's like, give me something crazy, give me something I'm not going to see anyplace else. Let's push this medium as far as we can go. Let's break it if we have to. So that's just my personal philosophy when it comes to movies.
I'm with you.
But Steven, so where are we? We're up to your 4?
My 4, yes. And now we can talk about 1917.
Okay, here we go. So, 1917 is actually the most recent film I've seen in theaters as of this recording, which is January the 22nd. And 1917, we had to wait a while for this to get a wide release.
Yeah, this was kind of one of the bigger ones we were waiting on. That's why we couldn't do our lists, as earlier, because this doesn't get into theaters until, near mid-January.
Yeah, it didn't get into theaters till
second week in January.
9th? Yeah, January 9th. Yeah. And granted, it got a release like on Christmas. Limited release on Christmas into no theaters that were near me. I can tell you that.
Not me either, yeah.
Not me either, but people have been talking about this movie for like a while, and it's Sam Mendes' new film. Sam Mendes, who is a very not very well known, but he's a well known filmmaker. He did American Beauty. He did the last 2 James Bond films. He did Revolutionary Road, which I think is his most underrated movie.
I think Road to Perdition is his most underrated.
Road to Perdition is another one which is amazing. He's done a lot of producer work. He did Jarhead. He's a really great filmmaker in my opinion. And 1917, and I walked out of this movie and I had to catch my breath. Because it is a roller coaster ride of a movie. And I'm not saying that in the sense that, it's just entertainment spectacle, like a Marvel film, a DC film, superhero film. This movie literally feels like it straps you in and you go for this ride, because the whole movie is made to be feels like it's one shot. So there's no editing, there's editing in it, but it's subtle. You gotta really pay attention to it.
It almost feels like a video game.
Yeah, it felt like a video game, but it also but there's no edits in terms of like, okay, we're gonna cut to a 2 shot, we're gonna cut to a medium shot, we're gonna, there's 2 people in this frame here. How are we gonna light this? How are we going to, how the body's going to fit in the frame? All of that stuff kind of gets thrown out, and the camera just moves as the characters move. And the whole film is amazingly well made from that technical perspective. It's shot by Roger Deakins, one of the best cinematographers today, maybe ever. He
was like, I have to get in on this gimmick of one shot lasting for a long time. That Emmanuel Lubezki's done it multiple times.
Yeah, Lubezki does it like every damn film that he does nowadays. But Deakins did it, and basically, getting to the premise of this film, it's a World War I war film, which we don't get to see a lot of. Not as much today. No. World War II has always been the more popular war. And I probably said this before, it's because there's such a defined good guys versus bad guys theme that they just utilize over and over again. Nazis bad, Allies.
That's why
good,
we don't see a lot of Vietnam movies.
Yeah, not nowadays. We really don't. Granted, that's a more complicated, messy war versus World War II, which is like I said, good guys over here, bad guys over here. Yeah. Let's do this. But World War I is complicated because it's not a war that has defined good guys versus defined bad guys. It's a war that dealt with trench warfare, so it's just guys sitting in disgusting narrow trenches for days and days at a time with no progress in the war whatsoever. You know what I mean? Think of the the no man's land sequence from Wonder Woman, stuff like that, where like you go in that no man's land and you just get destroyed because they're just bullets flying.
There's no
and
real
bombs flying right at you.
strategic warfare going on here. It's
like a battle of wills for the most part. So basically, two young British soldiers during World War One are given a mission where they have to deliver a message through enemy territory to get to this other portion of the army, and basically to tell them that they're walking into a trap. Like they may think that they're in an opportune situation, but it's actually it's actually the Germans baiting them into a trap, and basically the lives of 1,600 men are at stake here. So they have to do that, and doing that, they've got to go through no man's land. They got to go through all of this stuff, and you're just traveling with them this whole time. And for me, I loved watching it. Just love it. And for many people, the main criticism I see, and I can understand, it's a very thin plot. Like literally, the plot I just told you is pretty much the plot of the movie, and we're just going from one sequence over one obstacle after another to get to our objectives.
Sure. And the reason, the reason the as I called it, a gimmick of one shot works is because the movie's trying to make you stay in the moment. It's not about the plot. It's about you experiencing what these soldiers are going through. And it's about staying in that and feeling that. I compare it, kind of like Dunkirk, where it's experiential. It's very much about being in their shoes.
Right. Like in Dunkirk, I couldn't tell you what any of the names of the characters are, and to be honest, it didn't matter. Because it was the situation that they were in. Granted, Dunkirk's dealing with like different time frames and different different things happening in different places. This is just one continuous thing happening, and the two actors in it are Dean Charles Chapman and George McKay. And I thought they were really, really good in the film. And you get a lot of cameos in the film as well.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Is that who I think that is? Yeah, I don't want to give any away.
That'll be all right. It's in a damn IMDb.
I know. Like Colin Firth shows up at one point. I'm like, that Colin Firth? Oh, that's Colin Firth. Shit. No, yeah, look at that. Is that whoever? Then, yeah, they show up. Yeah, so I really love this movie. Like, I loved watching it in the theater. And I went to the theater where they've had projector problems before, and I didn't mention it on here, but I mentioned it to Steven, where during Ford v Ferrari, there was a frame rate problem, where like the frame would just start stuttering and slowing down, and it started to happen during 1917. I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna happen again. It's gonna happen again. Not during this movie, where like literally the visuals are the reason to watch the movie, and there's a frame rate stuttering problem, but no, it held up. It held up, but I got scared. I got real scared. So where are we now?
All right, we're to your number 3.
No, yeah, because we both just talked about.
Yeah, number 4 was 1917. Yeah.
Okay, my number 3 is a movie I actually just watched last night, purposely for this video, and I'm glad I did because it did make my top 10 list, and that is Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
You have to wait.
Oh damn!
Just a minute.
All right.
Well,
what do you got?
We're going to talk about my number 3, which is Rocket Man, which was your number.
Rocket Man.
What, 5?
Yeah, my number 5.
Yeah, love this movie. This was what Bohemian Rhapsody could have been if they actually put effort in. Funny enough, it was filmed by the same guy that did the kind of finished up that movie.
Yeah, you had to come in and save the movie.
Yeah.
Save that other movie.
I mean, first of all, I love Elton John's music, and I love Taron Egerton. I think he's a very good actor, and I think he was a perfect choice for this role. And I love the choice that they made this into a musical, a full-on musical where they're singing the songs, they're dancing in the streets. It's just it's such a flamboyant, fun movie, and it's. I can't say other than I had maybe one of the best times in the theater seeing that movie. I saw it twice in the theater. So.
Oh, I saw it once, and I actually have the UHD that I got to rewatch.
Yeah, so
I can rewatch it.
And I've watched it at least once since I bought it.
Oh, damn!
So I've seen it 3 times. It's an enjoyable movie. it is a very standard, kind of plot of, the rise and the fall that you expect from these types of movies. But
right,
it's just I think some of the I guess balls. The movie's got some balls. It's not shying away from the drug use. It's not shying away from the fact that Elton John's a homosexual man, and they get into all that stuff, the stuff that they did not get into in Bohemian Rhapsody. And
they got into it, but the way in which it was portrayed, I thought wasn't very
was
good.
The PG-13 version.
Yeah, only that, but they made. I mean, I'm not going to go on Bohemian Rhapsody rant again, but they made it. When they explored the homosexuality in that movie, they made it seem like it was one of the. It was a problematic thing.
Yeah.
Like it was a character fault within the Freddie Mercury character. Like, oh, that's what sent him down this dark path of, his life going downward. Whereas in Rocket Man, no, they just show it as part of his life. What the dark path he does go down is with like alcohol and drugs and stuff like that. That's what brings you down, not your homosexuality. But what I loved about Rocket Man is what Steven basically said. It's a mesh of a biopic and a musical. And with musicals, you get a lot of surrealism. Like when you break into these really elaborate musical sequences, it was so colorful, so, like Steven said, flamboyant, but there was so much energy in them and so much attention to detail when it came to set design and choreography and all of that kind of stuff, which really made me go, wow, they really went ambitious and broad with this, and they went for it. They didn't make it a traditional, music biopic, you know what I mean, where they're just showing like concert footage or they're just showing footage of somebody in a studio. But granted, they did do that several times in the movie, but they actually made you really feel endeared to the music of Elton John.
Well, I was going to say, they also bring a little bit of... They make the songs important.
Yes,
because, once again, Bohemian Rhapsody, the songs are there just because they're the greatest hits. They're not showing you what inspired him to make the music, how deep, they don't get into the deep minutiae of the songs. But the Elton, in Rocket Man, they are trying to get you to understand the songs on an emotional level.
They connected very well to the personal life of Elton John.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes it a vastly superior movie. Though, I'm not saying that the movie should have been nominated for Best Picture, but because this year was a great year for movies. There's tons of great movies. So you can't necessarily say it should have been nominated, but it definitely was a better movie than Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm sorry.
Oh, it was.
Vastly.
Oh, also, Taron Egerton I thought was better than Rami Malek.
Yes.
That's just me.
Yeah. But
that's just me.
I'm with you. I
also
agree.
Jamie Bell's in the film, very good.
Jamie
Richard
Bell's really
Madden's
good. What's his name?
Bryce Dallas Howard as well.
Oh yeah, and what's his name? Rob Stark.
Yeah, Richard Madden.
Richard Madden. Yeah, he's very.
Yeah,
good.
he's in the film. He's also very good in the film. Yeah, I loved Bohemian Rhapsody. It was up there for me for the longest time. Like it was at my number 2.
It was at my number 2 for a while.
Yeah, it's that good of a movie in my opinion. So moving on
to my number 2.
Right. No, because you want to go to your number 2 because this was your number 3.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean.
Is it back to me or back to you?
It doesn't. I mean, I think right here. Let's go ahead.
We're getting close.
Let's go ahead and go to my number 2 because my number 2 is your number 3.
Okay, but I still my number 2 is your number. Whatever it was, 6.
What's your number 2?
The Lighthouse.
Okay, yeah. All right.
So we'll talk about the Lighthouse now.
Let's talk about the Lighthouse.
Oh my sweet movie. Oh, I was gonna say I was going to use a swear word there, but I'm going to keep it clean.
Okay,
keep it clean. Okay. The Lighthouse is, talk about a movie.
Another surrealist movie.
It's another surrealist movie, and this film is, man, I couldn't tell you what this film is about because it's that atmosphere. This is a film that's done by Robert Eggers, and this is a film we've been talking about, Steven and I, since 2018. Like we were waiting for this movie.
Yeah.
Waiting, and then it was dropping at film festivals, and we were hearing about it, and then we finally got to see it, and it got a limited release too. So I didn't even get to see it in theaters.
I
and I had to
did.
wait. Oh man, I kind of hate myself for not seeing it in theaters because the aspect ratio of this film is insane. But before I go into that, basically, it's a black and white, stark black and white. Two lighthouse keepers try to maintain their sanity while living on a remote and mysterious New England island in the 1890s. And the whole film takes place there. And it's just these two guys on this island. And it's Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. And it's just them going crazy. Slowly as this film goes along, they just get more and more insane. And there are sequences of them like getting like just crazy drunk and singing and doing all kind of crazy stuff. And there's surreal moments where you see mermaids and mysterious sea creatures, and the lighting and the cinematography in this film is incredible. And this film is shot in a 1:19:1 aspect ratio, so we're talking like very narrow framing.
I think it's the same as The Ghost Story.
I think you're right.
It's very, very small.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
It's like
taking a picture, like a photography. Like
yeah, it's even more narrow than full frame. Full frame is 1:33:1. This is 1:19:1. So even narrower.
Yeah.
And that just makes this film feel more eerie, feel more claustrophobic, feel more just like it. Just that suspense and that craziness, like as a viewer, just kind of takes hold as well. And it's unbelievably well done. It's surreal, and there's also like deep themes in this film of like repressed homosexuality and all kinds of stuff. And I couldn't tell you, in the final sequence of this film, there's a shot of just Robert Pattinson screaming, and man, and there's no sound of him screaming, but there's light.
It's nightmare. It's nightmare inducing.
It's a nightmare fueled movie. I loved it.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
A lot of the movie is nightmare fuel. A lot of it is you watch it and you don't understand what's happening. But to me, it's about it's like we talked about with some of the other movies, like High Life. Surrealist movies, though you don't necessarily understand what's going on. It makes you have to go back and watch it again. And if that's something you're into, it's exciting. If you're excited about going back and checking out a movie again for multiple viewings to unlock its meanings, which sometimes like filmmakers like David Lynch, he's like, if you ask him a question about what he was going for, he's going to be like, I don't know. You just watch the movie.
It's like I don't explain my movies.
I don't explain my movies to you
because he wants you to figure it out.
Because to them, they think that the interpretation is always different depending on the person. So no matter what he thinks the interpretation is, it doesn't matter. It's what you think that matters.
I also want to mention that Robert Eggers also directed The Witch, so think of that vibe while watching this movie as well.
Yeah.
The Witch is, I think, amazing as well. It's just
I think this is a little bit better. I think that maybe a little bit better.
Really interesting. It's different. They're both different films.
It's a different type of movie, but
it's different type of horror. You could say this is more like fantasy horror. The other one is more like Grimm's fairy tale horror, or it's like old New England folklore horror. Man, but they're both. This is like maritime folklore fantasy horror.
Yeah.
But they're both really, really well made. Robert Eggers is a fantastic filmmaker. And I literally just bought this movie on Blu-ray yesterday to add to my collection, and I'm glad I did.
And a while back ago, it was rumored that he was going to do a Nosferatu movie, and I hope he's still going to do it.
I want that so badly.
God, I want him to do it.
Black and white. Make it black and white.
Please do not. Robert Eggers, please do a damn Nosferatu remake. God, it would be so awesome. I'm with you there, man. I love The Lighthouse. It's Robert Pattinson's becoming one of the best. Like he's a great actor. He's getting up there.
He's a great actor.
My favorite modern actor is Jake Gyllenhaal. He's competing now. He's got too many good movies. Whether it's Good Time, Lighthouse, High Life, The Rover.
He's going to be in Tenet.
Tenet with Christopher Nolan.
Nolan's film. Yeah, Nolan's film. And we all know he's going to be the Batman.
He's going to be Batman.
The new Batman.
I mean,
So,
he's
hey.
making a legacy for himself, man.
Yeah, he's burying that Twilight
He
life
very
behind
much
him.
almost forgetting that ever happened.
People like to bring that garbage up, and not that those movies are garbage, but like, oh, he's only ever going to be
Yeah,
that
that's stupid,
character, and
man.
that's like, that's not the way actors' lives work. I don't like typecasting people. Like, Daniel Radcliffe is always just going to be seen as Harry Potter,
Yeah.
even though he's doing movies that are way different now than Harry
Yeah.
Potter. It's like actors can do other stuff and can be, their careers evolve over time and go up and down, left and right, whatever.
That's the marketing machine for you.
That's
Yeah,
true.
hey.
That's pop culture in general. Pop culture likes to stick with what they know.
Yeah.
So what's your number two,
Yeah,
Steve?
my number 2 is also the one I just recently watched, just like you, Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Oh, good.
Love
Talk
this
about it.
freaking movie.
Oh, so do I.
It
I
is.
watched it last
I would
night.
say, and I don't want to step out. I don't want to step out of turn here. It competed for number 1. Like I almost put it as
Yeah.
number 1.
Yeah.
But I would say that this maybe is one of the best romances of the decade. Like honestly, like it's. I mean, first of all, you don't get a lot of great lesbian romance movies.
Oh,
I mean,
you gotta find them. You gotta find
No,
them.
I'm not saying that they're not out there. I'm just saying there's not. They don't get out there. You don't see a lot of them. I mean, everybody talks about blue is the warmest color, and
Yeah, blue is the warmest color. Well, one of my favorite movies of the decade was, and that was Todd Haynes' film Carol.
Yeah. Well, I still need to
I
watch
love
it.
that
I
movie.
still need to watch it.
Okay.
I own it
Carol's a
now, but
great
I still
film.
haven't watched it.
I mean, the movie Disobedience came out last year or the year before, with Rachel Weisz. That's another lesbian romance film,
Wasn't
which was directed
Handmaiden
by.
kind of has a
Oh
little.
yes, and The Handmaiden. The Handmaiden. That's an amazing movie.
Yeah.
The Handmaiden. That's that's not
That's
Hold on, let me look it
Chan
up.
Woo Park, right?
is that yes, that is Chan-wook Park. I was almost gonna say
Bong Joon-ho.
somebody else, but no. Yeah, I was gonna say him or the guy who did the Stoker.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Well, that's Chan Woo Park too. Isn't it?
Oh, the guy.
That's the same director.
I think is that the same
Yeah,
guy?
it's Chan
I'm
Woo
losing my
Park
mind.
did Stoker too.
Yeah, I'm losing. I was gonna say, the same guy who did Old Boy, but they're all the same
It's the same
person.
guy, yeah.
The same person. Oh man.
But yeah,
That's what happens. All these movies just kind of get rattled.
Oh,
in your head.
yeah,
The Portrait
well,
of a Lady on Fire.
yeah. Portrait of a Lady on Fire is what I think it's one of the best romances in a while, because what it is it's it's a film about a woman who's brought in back in the day, it was a big deal to get a portrait made of yourself.
Only the rich people.
Yeah, all the
could
rich
do
people, you get portraits of yourself. We didn't have photography yet. So, you had to have a painting done of yourself. And in this film, the mother wants to get a painting of her daughter done, and she's apparently very difficult. They've brought in other painters, and it's not really, they've never really gotten it done. So this woman painter comes in to get it done, and as she's trying to get it done, first she tries to get it done from a distance because they say she's very difficult. She won't sit down and let you paint her. You have to kind of look at her go on walks with her, look at her, try to do it from memory.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah,
yeah. There's a reason. Basically, the reason why her mother wants to have the portrait painted of her because it's the send off because she's already been
given away.
Given away. Back then, that's kind of the way it was done
she's
in royal
going to be marrying
houses
into
or with rich people.
a rich family.
A rich family, so they want a portrait of her to show her
To commemorate
future
her
husband.
marriage.
Yeah, or to show her future husband what she looks like.
Sure.
But she doesn't want it done because she doesn't want to get married.
Yeah, yeah. We find out that she likes women.
Well, yeah, you buried the lead on that. The first one. But what you say, I don't want to cut you off. Maybe you're going down this corridor. Is that it starts off with them starts off as a ruse where she's just following her around as her companion to go on walks with her at the beach.
Yeah, she's not supposed to know that she's
stuff
going to
like
be
that.
painting her.
Right.
Yeah.
But this relationship develops over time and it becomes not only romantic, but there's a connection there that is just unbelievably genuine. And it's so far.
As she tries to paint elements of her, it makes her become more intimate with her as she's trying to, because when you're trying to really look at somebody,
capture the person.
When you're really trying to capture, if you're really trying to look at somebody and remember them, and you're going to grow attachment, and she's growing. She, as the movie goes on, and as she continues to try to paint her, she grows more and more attached, and then when she's done, and realizes that it's not, that she still hasn't really captured her.
It's like that's when the
I don't want to give away the whole movie.
Yeah, don't give away the whole movie. And don't give away everything. But their relationship becomes more. It becomes, like I said, very genuine, and there's a connection there. It becomes romantic, but you believe every single emotion in this film. You believe every single thing in this film because there's so much beautiful subtleties, whether it's a look or a handhold or the way the people walk or just a stare or something. It's so genuinely authentic that it was mind-blowing to see. Yeah. I mean, and the film is gorgeously well shot. Yeah. Like, it's a stunning film, like when they're standing at the beach or standing on a cliff top or something like that. It just looks like a painting. This film looks like a painting from an aesthetic standpoint, but the acting's amazing, like just astonishing, and like Steven said, the romance is amazing, and it feels like, and this is where I'm going to make my Before trilogy reference. It feels like Before Sunrise. Yeah, like that's the level of connection and relationship these two people have, and how strong it is. And man, it's amazing movie. I'm glad I
I'm glad I got a chance to get it in.
I'm glad I got a chance to see it before we did this video. It's directed by I'm gonna butcher this name, Celine Sciamma, I believe.
Sounds good to me.
Yes, Celine Sciamma.
It's a French film.
It is a French film, so there are subtitles. Don't go crazy now. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. You got to read subtitles. But she directed Tomboy, Girlhood, and now Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and it's one of the best films I've seen from last year. Like I said, it's my number 3 on my list. Number 2 was The Lighthouse that I just mentioned, but
now for our number 1.
Yeah, now let's move on because I can talk about this movie for like a year straight. Yeah.
Well, our number ones I think are the same.
Our number ones are identical because Steven and I sometimes share the same brain. Yeah. It's Parasite. Parasite, Bong Joon-ho, who we just mentioned. Parasite is a movie getting all kinds of critical love and acclaim right now with the award season happening. It just won the big award at
Screen Actors Guild.
SAG Awards, Screen Actors Guild. It won the Best Ensemble Cast in a Drama, which I think is the big award, or I could be misnaming that, but it's the big award, whatever that was. It's also nominated for Best Picture as well as Best Foreign Language Film. I believe Bong Joon-ho is Best Directing nom. This film is amazing.
Yes.
It is. Man, there's a lot of films this year that are talking about the big political theme, or not even political, just cultural theme, because this shit's been happening for forever.
Yeah. There's been movies on class for a long time,
Not only that, but just this whole idea of classism, and this whole idea of the wealthy and the poor and the cultural and economical divide that there literally is. That stuff has been happening for centuries. I mean, we just talked about a movie, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, that dealt with wealthy people. I mean, and that was a movie set in the 18th century, late 18th century. And this is a movie set in modern day. We're still dealing with a level of class, description, or a class cultural depiction. And basically this film is about a family that basically kind of infiltrates the lives of this wealthy family. And they infiltrate it in a way where they basically come up with false identities, where the son starts tutoring the daughter, and the sister starts says she's like a what was it, like a piano instructor or piano teacher or something like that, and the mom becomes a maid, the dad becomes a driver, a chauffeur. Like, they find out ways to replace those people with themselves. And what you see is the difference in these two worlds. And what you also see is that although they're different economically, there are similarities there when it comes to the negativity. Like, these people are both, like, they both have bad aspects to them.
Well, yeah,
and that's kind of the great equaling. The great equaling is that, like, the morality isn't as far away as you think it is.
And in them infiltrating this family, they are being as nefarious as they look at the rich people as being. They
right.
they
hate the rich people, but like but like they're doing bad stuff themselves. Doing this.
They don't like them because they have money, not because they've actually witnessed them doing bad things. So then they do bad things, and it's okay because they think it's justified because
they think it's justified because of
where they are in society.
Where they are in society, and extremely well perfectly well directed. The acting's amazing. The themes, like we just mentioned, are really current and
darkly funny. And
there's dark comedy, and there's just so much to say in this movie about, classism and the divide and stuff like that. That's becoming more and more prominent in our world. And yeah, Bong Joon-ho is an amazing filmmaker.
I think it's definitely themes that he has been trying to explore with a lot of his movies,
right?
Especially like Snowpiercer and
yeah, Snowpiercer. Even Okja, to a certain extent, his films are rather political.
Yeah, very political. But he likes to have a certain heightenedness to his movies.
Yeah, he has a style. He has a style to them.
Yeah,
and I think this. I mean, I've seen The Host, I've seen Mother, I've seen Snowpiercer, I've seen Okja, and I've seen Parasite. And Parasite might be
his best well-rounded movie. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people didn't like Okja.
I didn't love that one.
Some people didn't like Snowpiercer.
I really liked Snowpiercer.
That was actually my intro.
Yeah.
That was my intro to Bong Joon-ho. I didn't know who he was until I saw Snowpiercer. And
I still need to see Mother.
Yeah, Mother's really good, and The Host isn't like a monster movie, but
it's pretty good.
There's themes in there too. Yeah. But I can't praise this movie enough, and I highly recommend people see it. Like, I've been telling people, like, watch Parasite whenever you can, whether it comes out, whether it's still, because I think it's still floating around in theaters.
Yeah.
And I know the Blu-ray's coming out.
A couple weeks.
Yeah, I want to say February.
It's the 30th. It comes out. It comes out on the 30th
of January.
Yeah.
Oh,
already
never
ordered
mind,
it.
then.
Already ordered it.
Somebody needs to put in a pre-order.
Yeah, I already ordered it.
I think that person is me. Yeah, January 28th. 6 days. That's next week.
Yep.
Wow, that's interesting. Because usually, the movies that are nominated for Best Picture, their Blu-rays don't get released until after the
Well, they want to give you a chance to see it.
That's crazy because this movie's still in theaters. Like, it's still like making box office.
Oh, that's not crazy. They had Black Panther on home video and still in theaters.
Yeah, they did. Yes, they did. Oh man.
But
yeah,
let's go down your 10 through 1 just in order, and I'll do mine just so people can get the list.
And then we're gonna do honorable mentions.
We'll do some honor. Let's not go crazy. No,
come on. All right. Marriage Story, Us, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is my number 8. Number 7 was The Irishman. Number 6 was 1917. Number 5 was Rocket Man. Number 4 was High Life. Number 3, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And number 2, The Lighthouse. And number 1 was Parasite.
My number 10 was Little Women. Number 9 was Uncut Gems. Number 8 was Jojo Rabbit. Number 7 was Queen and Slim. Number 6 was Marriage Story. Number 5 was The Lighthouse. Number 4 was 1917. Number 3 was Rocket Man. Number 2 was Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And number 1 was Parasite.
Nice.
This was a great year for film. I mean, like, honestly, going up to my number 20, I feel very strongly about a lot of these movies. Like, I mean,
right.
Going into some of my honorable mentions, Dr. Sleep. Really loved Dr. Sleep. The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Very good. Yeah. I think one that was an early in the year one, Fighting with My Family.
Underrated.
Very underrated. I do have Once Upon a Time in my top 20. Ford versus Ferrari. Fantastic.
Yep. That'd be on my honorable mentions.
Joker.
Yeah.
Joker was.
I got Joker.
Yeah, Joker was my number 11.
Coincidentally, Joker's my number 12.
Yeah, well, Us is my number 12.
Ah.
And then I'll say this one. I watched Pain and Glory yesterday, and it was very good. It's my number 14.
Nice.
It's very good. It kind of reminded me of movies like The Hero from Satyajit Ray. Movies about directors or actors kind of reflecting on their life.
To me, it's like Bergman's Wild Strawberries, done by Pedro Almodovar.
Yeah. It's very good, very colorful film.
Antonio Banderas is
he's
amazing.
He's
fantastic.
In the movie. Yeah.
But my honorable mentions on Knives Out, I have at my 13th spot.
I have
great
that at 15.
Great murder mystery.
Yeah.
The Farewell is my number 11.
It's my number 16.
Wang's film.
Yeah.
There's only two films that have made me cry while watching it, and it was The Farewell and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I cried at the end of Portrait of a Lady on Fire. But Little Women, Uncut Gems, Midsommar is actually in my top 20.
It's my 22.
I know a lot of people don't like them. A lot of people don't like it. I have Jojo Rabbit, Ford v Ferrari. Blinded by the Light is actually much higher than I think people would think it would be on my list.
Yeah, it's pretty high if it's in your top 20.
Well, it's at 20. It's at 23, and then you got Booksmart and stuff like that.
You're gonna hate me.
Go on.
Because Irishman, I got at 29.
Woo! Wow. I can tell you, my 29 is actually Avengers Endgame.
That's my 28.
Oh, damn. How about Peanut Butter Falcon?
I got that. Yeah, I got that. It's my number 19.
Oh, it's at my 27 spot,
yeah.
Actually. But yeah, I mean, Dolomite is My Name is another one a lot of people are talking about. Yeah, that's pretty.
We could go through a lot of other ones, but like I said,
those are good.
Good year for movies. I can't wait to see what's coming for this year. Maybe we'll do a anticipated for next year coming up. Maybe you think maybe we should do that episode instead of doing a who we think should win, or maybe we should.
I thought maybe we could do that afterwards.
You want to do You want to do the 2020 look after the Oscars?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I would think.
Okay. We'll do that with reactions to the Oscars themselves.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Cool. Well, that's going to be it for this episode of the Cinema Discovery Project. Where can we find you, Andrew?
You can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, as well as my YouTube channel, Capzilla Productions.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can find me on Instagram, Cinema Discovery Project. And you can find the audio for this podcast on Podbean and Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening. And hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.